Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be speaking on sending the inner narrator on sabbatical. And what does that mean? If you are someone who is plagued by anxiety, plagued by limerence, and just a mind that would not stop talking, then you will find this video very, very, very useful. In order to properly address this topic, I must ask us to cast our minds back on movies that we have watched in the past, right? Many times when you watch movies, there are no narrators, right? But every now and then when you watch a movie, there is a narrator that tells you what's about to happen. Either the narrator is part of the characters in the movie, or it's not a character that you meet in the movie, but you just hear their voice throughout the movie. And that is what many of us have up here. We have an inner narrator that has that has a narration, that has thoughts on everything, right? And the thing about being a narrator is that many times when you're narrating, you are unable to be in the play. You're unable to be part of the scene, right? When you're narrating, you are unable to be part of the scene. So let's say you are walking past someone, you're hurrying to walk, you're walking past someone and they hit you and they do not say sorry and they run past you. That event on its own, it's a bit sad, maybe it's a bit annoying. I would just say it's annoying, but it doesn't have to be more than that, right? It's just one blip in a day. But in comes the narrator. They start telling you all that it happened. That person is so rude. That person, what is it about me that makes them feel that they can hit me and just go? The narrator starts spinning so many tales, and before you know, this one blip of an incident ruins your whole day. That is why you must send the inner narrator on a sabbatical. And I say sabbatical because it's not easy to do away with them completely. Neither should we want to do away with them completely. But by putting them on pause, we are able to better enjoy our lives. The thing about narrating is that the narrator runs with so little. Many times a little incident has been spun into something else, a mountain, right? Just a little incident can be spun into a mountain because the narrator oftentimes takes so little and spins a whole mountain out of it, where we end up not experiencing life. We end up not experiencing life as much as we could. We end up experiencing the narrator's fantasies, the narrator's daydreams, which are not always for our benefit, right? Take the incident of someone hitting you. It could have just been, oh, someone hit me. Well, that's it. It doesn't have to be anything other than it. We don't have to start thinking, why did they do this? They are so rude. Maybe I should have said this. Maybe I should have done nothing. It could have just been, oh, someone hit me and they passed. Nothing more could have resulted from it. But give the narrator room and it's gonna spin so much that after that incident that could have just stopped, every other thing we see after that is just like, what do we call it, creative matter for the narrator. The narrator takes this thing and then starts taking every other thing to create its fever dream, to create its world of fantasies, really, because most times it lies. Most time the narrator lies, right? Because when you're running around assuming things about people, assuming things about the world, you do not know everyone. You do not know what everyone is thinking. You do not know as much as you think you do. I'm speaking to the narrator right now. The narrator does not know as much as he thinks it does. It's just a creative, daydreamer, right? And so it lies to build up its world. It needs to lie to build up its world, right? And because it lies and consumes so much energy, because it's creative, right? Creation requires energy because it lies and consumes so much energy in creating, this world. It leaves us unable to actually experience the actual world. It leaves us unable to experience reality. Everything. Let's get back to the incident. Someone hits me, right? And then they passed. It could have just been, oh, someone hits me. Oh, that's a bed. Oh, that's a woman holding a coffee. Oh, that's a woman driving to work. Oh, it could have been that incident and other incidents happening that would have happened that I would have been observant of, but not when the narrator is at work. The narrator blinds me to every other thing, maybe sunset, maybe a smile here, I don't know, something beautiful happening there, a beautiful flower on the walkway. Narrator blinds you to all of them because it wants to build on this bad thing. It wants to build on this bad thing, this perceived evil that has happened, right? And that is why we need to send the narrator on sabbatical. This does not mean that the narrator is always wrong. Sometimes when things happen, it is able to perceive right. This person was being rude to me, right? But do we need to confront every rudeness? Do we need to confront every bad thing? I don't think so. I honestly do not think so, right? I do not think so. I think we need to pick our battles. And so how do we send the narrator on sabbatical? By bringing in the observer, right? And I want us to cast our minds back on this. I don't know if you've heard about the Cherokee story about the two wolves, right? There are so many instances of this story throughout, cultures, ancient cultures and tradition and religions. The Cherokee story, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it well, is that there are two wolves inside of us. One is good and one is bad, right? And the one that is stronger is the one that we feed, right? And in the Bible, it talks about like our spirit and our flesh warring against each other, right? And whatever you feed grows. So if you allow the narrator to keep running around creating all these scenes that are not always for our benefits, then it gets the power over the observer. We should bring in the observer. Many times when my narrator wants to run out of control, I just bring in the observer. What is the observer? The part of you that sees without having any thoughts, the part of you that just experiences things, the part of you that just sees, oh, that's the sky, that is the truth. There's no that let's say I'm looking at the sky now and I say that is the sky, that is the truth. There's no other attachment to that. I'm just seeing what I see. I'm just feeling what I feel. So when the wind is on my skin, the wind is on my skin. When someone hits me, nothing else. I do not know anything why they hit me. I do not know anything about why they hit me, their state of mind, whether it's for me. I do not know. All I know is what I see, what I perceive. That is all. That is what the observer does. It's just here to observe. And that is the kind of state we usually find when we start to practice meditation. Just let it be. Just be aware of it. That is what the observer does. So when your narrator is running out of control, just bring in the observer to observe. Observe yourself narrating. Observe yourself narrating. And many times it's able to put the narrator in check. Sometimes you might have to go the extra mile of saying, why are you narrating? Is this really necessary? And that's able to curb the narrator. Right? This does not mean that we should just be in this state of observing all the time or that the narrator is totally bad. I would assume that 70% of the times we are narrating and 30% of the times we are observing. We are true. That means it's only very few times that we are really seeing the world as it is. It's only very few times that we are seeing the world as it is. Because the narrator is a creative that has to make up things sometimes, right? It's a creative that has to make up things. So we need to bring in the observer. We need to bring in the one who observes, who just sees and feels and allows, Another analogy, I think that's the word, that I would bring to help drive home this observer versus narrator thing is this. Imagine you're watching a movie, right? And there is a narrator. Okay, let's say the movie opens with the main character holding their ice cream and the narrator starts talking. This is the day that changed my life forever, right? And so we assume, okay, the main character is the narrator. Well, okay, fine. And so we see the main character holding an ice cream, eating it, and then it falls on the floor, right? And the narrator is like, oh, so that day my ice cream fell on the floor and everyone just stepped on it and walked past. And so the narrator keeps going on and on and on about this ice cream on the floor. Meanwhile, the scene has moved on. We see the main character at work Meanwhile, the narrator is still talking about the ice cream on the floor. Imagine how that feels. Imagine, would you watch a movie like that? I don't know if you really get my point. I don't know if I'm able to get my point across because I've been told I have the weirdest analogies or whatever. But just imagine it. You're watching a movie where your main character has a bleep, something that does not go so well in their day, right? And the ice cream is on the floor. Someone hits them, the ice cream falls on the floor, and then people step on it, right? And the narrator is like, oh, people stepped on my ice cream, blah blah blah, keeps whining about the ice cream, and the scene has moved on. We see the narrator, we see the character at work talking to people, but we cannot hear what the character is doing at work. We see the character on a date, we cannot hear what the character is doing or saying to their dates, because the narrator is still on about the ice cream. The narrator is still talking about the ice cream on the floor. We see days progress in the character's life, but the narrator is still talking about the ice cream. That is how it feels when you allow your narrator run out of work. And I know that this is a very serious issue that some people have, that they might need medical attention for. But if you are able in any way to curb a problematic narrator or an over exuberant narrator, please do so, whether by praying, whether by meditating, whether by bringing in the observer, or whatever you need to do to put this narrator that likes to over ruminate on things, you know, to put them on pause. Whatever you do is gonna help your life so much. Whatever you can do to give the narrator a break, because honestly it needs a break. It might act like it wants to talk about everything, but it wants to rest too. It wants to rest so that it can actually have important and interesting things to narrate, right? Because if you're running out of work commenting on every little thing, when the actual things you should narrate on come up, you might not have the energy. So what the observer is going to help your narrator get a break. So send your narrator on sabbatical, whether by praying, whether by cajoling it, speaking to it, whether by bringing in the observer, whatever you can do. What I found most useful is praying, being aware, that is bringing in the observer, meditating. Those have helped me so much. Sometimes just reminding the narrator that you don't need to narrate this, like you don't need to have opinions on this. You are allowed not to have opinions. Those have helped me so much in recent times, and I'm so grateful, and I hope they can help you too. So that will be all for today's video. If you would love to see more on this kind of topic, please stick around, subscribe, like, whatever. That will be all. See you in the next video.